Welcome back to Caddy Corner, episode 19. I know what you guys are thinking. That's not Caleb. Great point. That's not Caleb. As you can tell by the title of this episode, by way of chance, Caleb and I both have professor parents. This is my mom. She is a college professor, and she is here to tell you how to be the best student in the world.
That's a lot of
pressure.
A lot of pressure there.
Yep. It's the only way to do it. So I'm going to be throwing her through a rigorous set of questions so that way you guys can learn from a real college professor what makes a good student or a bad student. I'm going to throw her under the bus. So, start it off. Question 1. Tell them who you are and tell them what you do.
So I'm Austin's mom. I'm also a program chair at Cabarrus College of Health Sciences. My name is Rhonda Weaver, and as you can see, I teach medical imaging. So I'm also a radiologic technologist. So I help people learn how to get jobs in the hospital and doctor's offices in the radiology field. My program is a bachelor's completion program. So the way that students get into my program is by first getting their 2-year degree, and usually that's done at community college. So we offer the back 2 years for the bachelor's, which really lets a student get a 4-year degree in a really affordable way.
Boom.
Yeah. So I've been a tech for 22 years. I've been an educator for 14. So I'm pretty old.
Nice and ancient. Rode dinosaurs to school. That's what she always says.
Yes, I did.
So we'll segue from that into something that plays directly off of you being old. What is the biggest difference do you think from like you coming up like academically, but from now?
Yeah.
As far as teaching styles and also like the way that curriculums are written.
Yeah. Also
to like the student mentality and that kind of stuff too.
Okay. So when I was a student back in the late 1900s, we did not have access to the wealth of information that you guys have access to on the internet. So all the research that we did was basically in libraries with encyclopedias and things to that nature. The access that you guys have to information so quickly now with Google and search engines really sort of takes away a lot of the critical thinking skills that I feel like we had in my generation. So there's a lot of, particularly in health sciences, things that come up where you have to really make decisions very quickly and have really solid base knowledge of the content before you can really be able to make those decisions. So I feel like we had to invest a little bit more time in studying and reading our textbooks and making sure that we were prepared for the lectures and understanding the content than students today do, because it's just so easy to Google the answer to a question instead of putting all that effort into it. Teaching styles have changed tremendously. When I was a student, and I have a picture that I might let Austin pop up in this video of my classroom, we sat in desks that were facing the front of the room. We had a teacher standing in front of us talking, and we were expected to take notes and be prepared for tests just from that type of instruction. Now it's more of a collaborative nature, so you guys work in groups. You do a lot of individual work on things. There's a way to teach called the flipped classroom, where you come to class and you do activities the whole time instead of lecture, and the lecture is done sort of like at home, like homework would be. So it's really different for instructors of my generation to sort of integrate into this new teaching method, because we're kind of used to that traditional classroom setting. And so you had a teacher in your psychology class that had that same kind of teaching practice.
We've talked about that horror story on this podcast like 100 times.
Yeah. So that was and I share that a lot with my colleagues. And like, Austin had his first real teacher and kind of threw him for a loop. So it's definitely a generational thing between the students and the professors, trying to learn how to like meet your needs and from what you're accustomed to with what you see in high school now.
I have a question that I can totally cut out if you don't want to answer it on here. Because that's fine. But do you think that, and you can answer as honestly as you want, do you think that the professors owe the students to have to try and make adjustments to better fit the student's needs?
Yeah, absolutely.
You think so?
Absolutely. That's part of our role as an educator. And so that being said, that's kind of a loaded question, because what a student's expectation of an instructor owing them.
Well, I'm more so, owing is a bad terminology. I more so mean like make adjustments if a student isn't in an environment where they can succeed.
Yes. Yes. Good instructors do that constantly throughout the semester. So assessment of a student is something that's done outside of just, I'm going to give you a test and see what your grade is. You should be assessing your students constantly in class, because there's always going to be that student that's sitting in the back that's quiet, that doesn't ask questions, that's making faces, that's confused. And then there's always that student that's asleep in class all the time, and things to that nature. So taking that student aside and say, hey, noticed you were asleep. Well, you might learn something about that student, like maybe that student is the only person making money for their family and they have to work their shift. Okay, well, now I understand why you're sleeping in my class, and I can help provide you stuff that can, potentially you can work on when you have time to concentrate. So there's a lot of adjustments that we do. We also look at the way that people learn best. So you can either learn 3 different ways: cognitively, which is more of the, I'm going to think about it. Auditory, I like to hear it. Visually, I like to see it. Or kinesthetically, I like to do it. And so that being said, maybe you learn better through auditory. Well, maybe I'm going to do my lectures through a podcast, and you can listen to my lectures as you're driving down the car and driving in the car, and these things get a little bit better. Maybe you're a visual learner, so I need to draw pictures so that you can kind of connect things. And so, yeah, that's something that each instructor has been taught and should know, and helps them to customize that learning activity specifically for that student. Now, I will say, here at my college, we have very small class sizes. So in this lab, which you can't see all of it, there's, what do you think, like 25 seats maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
So 25 seats in this lab, there's 25 students. If you're going to go to university, you're probably going to have 100 students, maybe 300 students in a class. And so these instructors that have these huge classes, they won't be able to pinpoint individual needs for students and be able to help them the same way that you can in a smaller classroom environment. So if that's important to you, then you really need to be looking at what's the class size at the college I'm applying to. How am I going to fit in as a student? Do I have the ability to keep up, and sort of manage my learning on my own, or do I need individualized attention with my instructor? And so those are questions you need to ask yourself before you just decide, I want to go to this big university because it's awesome and they have a football team, and you need to think about how you're going to fit into that piece, and if you will be successful in that environment as well.
Boom. Guess I don't have to cut that part out.
No, I can answer.
Okay, so now we'll jump into more like specific student kind of like questions, I guess, like perspective. So you've taught obviously like a lot of classes over the past, like, I don't know how long, 10 years, 15 years almost, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so like what are there traits that you see in some of your best students that you've had, like you can think all the way back? Are there traits that are similar through those, and then like what are those traits?
Absolutely. So for example, I teach some courses at Rowan Cabarrus too, and those are more face-to-face. The classes that I teach here at Cabarrus College are online, so I have 2 different kinds of students. The class that I teach at Rowan Cabarrus, I noticed there were students that did really good on my tests and students that did not do so well on my tests. So I asked the ones that were doing well, what are you doing? How are you studying? They always said, every single student would say, I always read the chapters before I come to lecture. And so that way when you're doing lecture, I know if there's some things that were confusing to me and I can ask questions. So the students that were doing poorly, I would always say, how do you study? Do you read your chapters? And one student's like, no, I don't do good at reading. I need somebody to explain it to me. And so that goes back to those learning styles. So sometimes if you do like a learning style inventory and it says you're a visual learner, you need to see pictures, then sometimes students will think, well, I can't learn any other way than somebody drawing a picture for me, so I'm not even going to try. And so there's so many different things that you have to do. And I think I remember Caleb mentioning when he prepares for classes, he looks over the notes before he goes to class. That's number one top top students always do that. Always look and make your own notes and your own questions so that you don't forget them when you can ask them in real time.
What he said, what you're recalling, is he talked about this on the episode that came out today. He talked about how before the semester starts, if he thinks he's going to struggle in a class, he would like research academic published articles and read through them.
Yeah, and that's even more above and beyond.
Yeah.
But even just reading, like this week we're going to talk about chapter 1, reading chapter 1 before you come in, making notes in your book, highlighting things that are confusing, so that way when you have FaceTime with your instructor, you can ask those questions and get clarification right then, not the day before you're studying for your exam, because all of that information kind of gets jumbled together the further away you are from it. So yes, read your books, buy your books. Number 1, buy your books. I've had students that haven't even bought the books for the course because they didn't think that they would need it. Also, books are expensive. I get that. I'm a student too. I'm working on my doctorate right now. I always look on Amazon for my books before I look in the bookstore, because a lot of times you can get things a lot cheaper. Also, ebooks, that if you don't want to keep these books, you can download digital copies. A lot of times that's cheaper too. But really, spending some time with the textbooks. We don't require them because we're mean. We require them because they're a really big part of the information that's being taught in the class, and they're a big tool in that class, so you have to make sure you use it.
Boom. We don't know how to read.
If you don't know how to read, I'm sure that there are remedial classes that you should take before you should get into your major.
Yes. I'm going to ask you the same question on the flip side, if it's a different answer, like some of your worst students.
Not spending time studying. Another thing, time management, and I know I've heard y'all talk about this a couple times, but it's really important. Particularly when you go into college. College is so different from high school, where you have that I'm going to do the same thing every day schedule. And in college, you might have a class 2 days a week or a class 3 days a week. You're not on campus the whole entire time, so you have free time, and you might be spending that free time working so you can make some money, because you need some money, right? And so a lot of times students will spend a lot of time with their extra time racking up hours at work so that they can make some money, and they don't leave time to study. So what I always suggest for students, especially my online students, is you're going to have to pick a day that's your school day. And so if Sunday afternoon is your school day, that's fine, whatever day of the week, and it has to be consistent. And with that being said, you need to tell your family, I'm in school here in my room with my door shut, do not bother me, or either go to like a library or somewhere like that and spend that time on your classwork. And if you do that consistently and you have the same day every week and time allocated to schoolwork, you'll never miss your deadlines, because you always get your things turned out in time. So let's just say your class, the assignments are due on Friday. If your school day is, Wednesday, then you know that you're going to have at least 2 days of grace to get all of your stuff turned in time. So time management is key. It's tough. It's easy to get slack with that. And whenever you start getting a little slack, then it just snowballs and turns into this whole
unmovable, terrifying hole that makes you want to curl into a little ball and never talk to anybody again.
Yes. And so with me, that is laundry. I hate laundry. I will leave it in the basket forever until nobody has any underwear, and then I will finally fold it. So that's exactly the same analogy that I tell my students. Like, don't let schoolwork become your laundry basket. You have to set aside time and make sure that you are diligent about that, because think about it. How long are you going to be in school? If you're working on an associate's degree, 2 years, a bachelor's, 4 years of your entire life. I don't know if I should say that or not, because I've been in school the whole time you've known me. But
that's true in theory.
That being said, you can devote, you can be okay with missing out on some fun things for a short period of time in order to achieve your ultimate goal, which is graduation, a career that you really want, and happiness in the future. So it's hard, but you can do it.
So you think that time management is probably the most important, life skill that you can learn through college, do you think?
Time management. I think accountability is a huge life skill. Parents can't fight these battles for you anymore. You really have to sort of, become accountable and meet the criteria of your courses on your own. And so that's growing up. I mean, you have to do that when you get a job. There's a lot of things, accountability is huge. Time management is huge. Also, professionalism, the way that you interact with your instructor. If you send your so let's just say I'm going to get an email from my student Austin, and it says, "Hey, Rhonda, I failed your test. I don't think that you covered the content that was in the course. It's not fair, Austin. That's an unprofessional email, And so, and a lot of times words misspelled, acronyms, like you're texting somebody, I'm failing your class, LOL, I need some help, WTF. No, you cannot right. Address your instructors that way.
Dropping a WTF in an email is a bold
move. That would be very unprofessional. And so you have to think about the way that you interact with people professionally. So that's oral conversation and also email, especially email. A lot of professors, they don't have time to deal with that kind of stuff. And if they feel like they're being attacked in the email or something to that nature, you have to think about how that instructor is going to feel reading that and the perspective that they will have of you as a student. So that's another huge thing is professionalism, accountability, time management. Those are all huge for your college experience.
This question comes directly kind of from that email point. Do you think that there is, well, I know what you think, but do you think that there is a gap in what professors expect you to know from like a lifestyle or like life skills level from the high school to college transition? It's huge, right? Mm-hmm. I know that you're going to say that.
Absolutely.
And so I know you teach upper level classes for the most part. And so upper level classes, you should know how to send an email by then. And so if somebody drops a WTF in one of your emails, that's a bold move because they've been here for a couple of years.
Yes.
But if you're like a freshman coming in, and you've never sent an email before because you've never had to,
mm-hmm.
dropping a WTF in an email seems a little bit more reasonable then because you have no idea.
Absolutely.
So do you think that like entry-level, 100-level classes, professors need to be like at least open-minded? Not that they shouldn't shoulder check WTF guy, but do you think that they need to be like, he doesn't know the way to do things, kind of?
So, yes, it's a struggle. It's a struggle both ways. But I will say that those of you who are maybe going to college for your first year, especially like to four-year universities, there's usually a course in your first semester. What was yours called? Seminar?
Yeah.
There's like a general kind of random course that you really don't know why you're taking it. And a lot of times that course is supposed to be focused on, here's some time management tips. Here's how, you should professionally communicate. So this is not an issue that is in a pocket. This is an issue that, everybody has because high school is very different from college, and college professors are very different from high school instructors. High school instructors, have that leverage to be your friend because you see them for 4 years. College instructors are going to see you for a semester and that's it. They probably won't ever remember you. So they expect to be, treated with that type of a relationship, not a friendly type of relationship. So I think it just kind of depends on the instructor, as to how they react to that. But yeah, there's a general knowledge that it takes a little bit of time to sort of build these skill sets to become, what you would expect to be in an upper level student. So yeah, there's some grace. There's also a lot of things that happen that are kind of strict, particularly in health sciences programs. So for example, we have a stringent dress code in the program that I'm affiliated with. They have to wear white socks. They have to wear white shoes. Their hair has to be pulled up. Tattoos have to be covered.
At school?
Yes, at school, in class, and also in clinical. And so with that being said, if a student is out of uniform, they're technically supposed to go home. And the rationale behind that is you are going to go into a profession that's going to require a specific dress code. And you're going to need to have a specific persona appearance. And so we're training you for that.
Yeah.
Another thing with deadlines, like deadlines are not extended in some courses that I teach. And the reason behind that is when you go to clock in at work, if you're 5 minutes late, you get wrote up. If you get wrote up so many times, you can get fired from your job. So these things, seem unreasonable, but I think one thing that professors could do a better job of is explaining to the student why we have these rules in place.
Yeah.
It's helping you. It's not because we're mean and crazy. It's because we want you to recognize that you're going to have to start following a certain standard when you enter a profession. So we're practicing that now in the classroom. So you'll be prepared for that.
I think that that's smart. You never told me that before.
Yeah.
I think that that's a good idea.
See, I'm smart.
Well, I think that it's smart because if you don't know why, that is very unreasonable and like crazy talk.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to wear white socks at school? Who are you?
Yeah.
So, but I do understand that. And I think, especially in your case, when they come to this institution where we're sitting right now, like they probably want to work in the healthcare field.
Yep.
Probably,
Yep.
maybe.
And you're not wearing Crocs when you go to the hospital. It's just not happening. It's a health concern. You got holes in there. What kind of nasty stuff can fall through those holes in your Crocs?
The funk.
I know. Exactly. And you take that home to your family. So there's a reason why why we make you do these things. And like I say, that's one thing that I recognized as I've evolved through my career span as being an instructor. We don't do a great job of explaining the why to the students, why we have these things in place. And even if I explain things to you, like, I need you to do this because you're a lot better at doing it for me than me just saying, go do this right now. Even though a lot of times you still want to know why.
I always want to know why. Yeah.
Why.
I think that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I think that that's a generational gap thing, because it's always like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I feel like, and this is like just an opinionated thing, and I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about people that are in like your kind of position, not just as a parent, but also as like you've been to school forever. Like you, whether you want to admit it or not, you have some kind of ego that makes you think that like a lot of different things and that you need to be taken very seriously. And I'm not saying this meanly. I'm just saying. And so whenever somebody asks you why, you take it personally. Like you don't like they think that you don't know what you're talking about. That's what I think. I think a lot of people that are in your position are like that too.
Maybe.
Definitely.
And it depends. It depends on the questioning of it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But I'm usually not in that situation with my students. More so, I'll be in that situation with you.
Yeah.
Take out the trash. Why?
Okay, I don't ask why for that. Why? Because it stinks.
Yes.
I know why to take out the trash. I want to talk about people that are going to like big 4-year universities.
Yeah.
And then I want you to you can interject about the perks and also like the downfalls of coming to a smaller school like this, more specialized. But you don't have to, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But so with this generation, with this like class that's going into college, at least from my old high school, a lot of them are going to just big 4 years, kind of blindly.
Yeah.
No majors, no real ideas.
Mm-hmm.
How do those people figure out what the heck they're going to do with 4 years? And when do you realize that college is less fun and more work, especially when you're doing it for no direct returns?
So that final part of your question I'll answer right now. The day that they realize it's more work and less fun is probably the first week after all the orientation, pep rallies, and all that kind of stuff is over, and they have to start waking up independently at 8 o'clock and being at a class halfway across campus. So that's probably the first day that it becomes no fun. And then they go over the syllabus with their instructors and realize exactly how much is going to be required of them. That being said, I thought you might ask me this question, and I've really been thinking about it pretty hard, because I can't say at 18 I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. And even right now, at older than 18, I'm still
I'll put it in the description, boys.
I'm still sort of searching for a pathway, because when I was your age or even younger, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a high school teacher. Or actually elementary school teacher. And then I realized that you had to go to 4 years of school to do that at a university. And my parents really didn't have, they would have helped me, but I didn't want to put them in any kind of financial constraints to afford that, because 4-year college is very expensive. And I was not, I guess, smart enough to know that like there was scholarships and things that could kind of help you through that.
Different time too.
Yeah.
How were you supposed to?
Well, I was the first person in my family to finish college. So, that's I didn't have, like you've got me and I've been through the ropes, so I can help you with that. My parents were plumbers, so they didn't know that piece.
Off-topic question, and don't go on it for too long, but how would you have found scholarships then?
There's the same way that you would have. I mean, obviously not through the internet, but we had advisors at school that would help us if we would reach out. There was tons of scholarships and things that you could apply for, but I wasn't like a poor student, but I wasn't like a super sportsman. I didn't have like NHA. I didn't have all these stars and asterisks behind my name. So I just felt like I would never qualify for anything. So why should I apply? And that is a mindset that students have right now that I think is terrible, because on the backside and seeing, applications for scholarships now, there's so much money that's out there that people want to give people to go to school. And maybe you get 4 applicants for it, and that's it. Because people think, oh, they're not going to give it to me. And it's a lot of paperwork and it's a lot of trouble, but filling out that stuff really is beneficial. So that being said, it was tougher to know.
Yeah.
But now you guys have a wealth of information just
there's like
through
thousands.
Google. Lots of money.
Yeah.
Lots of money. Even here at Cabarrus College, we have, a huge endowment of money that we give to students internally. But that being said, I know I didn't want to go to 4-year, and so had to go to 4-year college to be a teacher. So I decided I'm going to go to Rowan Cabarrus. What programs do they have? I think I want to get a job in healthcare because I know I'll get a job. They had nursing, they had dental, and they had radiology. I did not want to be a nurse, and teeth are gross, so I picked radiology. I knew nothing about it. First couple weeks of school, I found out I was going to be doing a lot of very personal things with people, and it was a little terrifying, but I didn't want to quit. Made it through the program, went straight to the hospital to work, and loved it. And then throughout my career, went back and did my bachelor's completion, which 2 more years got my bachelor's, and then I was qualified to teach. And so now it's like I've come full circle. Now I always wanted to be a teacher. I am a teacher, but I get to use the healthcare background to sort of prepare students to go into a field that I love and be really good at it. So that being said, I don't know if I totally answered your question. It took me a while to figure all that out. So 18, graduated from x-ray school as 20. I did not come back and get my bachelor's until you guys were little. And I didn't start teaching, 14 years ago I started teaching. So you don't have to decide what you want to be when you grow up right now. But if you have sort of a general idea of something that can help you become employable, that's really awesome, because that way at least you get an opportunity to sort of work a little bit and figure out what these professions look like from the inside so that you can decide where you fit within that and which area you want to go into. So I'll just give one good example because I know a lot of people want to be a doctor, and I don't know if you have any friends that I want to be a doctor. And I know Caleb sort of had a healthcare inkling that he's changed his mind about. But that being said, if you want to be a doctor, the requirements to get into med school is a bachelor's. You can step into that bachelor's just like I did by getting an associate's degree in nursing. And then you're a nurse for a little bit and you figure out what that looks like. And then you go back and you complete, PA school or nurse practitioner school. And that's the same thing as being a doctor. But throughout that whole pathway, at the 2-year point, you're employable and you're making a lot of money, and you get a chance to sort of check out different areas in the hospital, at doctor's offices, and seeing like where you really want to be before you choose that degree program that's going to put you at your ultimate career aspirations. That's just some advice. I'm not saying that's best for everybody. I love community college. I think community college is a perfect place to start if you don't know, just because you don't want to waste a ton of time and money in something that's not going to help you in the future. Because 4 years is a long time. You can get a lot of things done in 4 years.
Thanks.
Yeah, and so one other example here at Cabarrus College, we have an associate degree nursing program. We get a ton of students that enroll at UNCC for their nursing program. So they have a 4-year nursing program there. They're in these huge classrooms with all these people. They're doing the college experience. They're not successful there. They come to us because we're a small classroom. We're a commuter college. We don't have that huge, big college experience. But when you come here, you are straight in the hospital working, and, you're getting prepared for that job. You're not, just having the fun college experience. So it just depends on what mindset you're in. And, do I want to have the fun 4-year college experience, just in the back burner, or do I want to start making money and working in a career path that might be a good fit for me? And like I say, you can always change jobs. Here I am, a full-time teacher. I don't work clinically anymore, but I always have those credentials that I can fall back on if I ever decide I want to go back to the hospital. So I have a lot of different places I can go.
Boom. All that school did pay off, huh?
We'll find out. Still paying for it.
Isn't everybody? Okay. So this is my last kind of one, and you can go on it for as long as you want. But Caleb and I talk a lot on this show, and a lot even off the pod, about how, at least for us, college has not been a full-time job. Mm-hmm. It just isn't. For we are, and maybe it's because we're smarter than we realize, and we I mean, I don't know, but me and Caleb have never had to spend the same amount of time as maybe other people have to with their college, where they're spending their whole week is on college.
Yeah.
Whereas Caleb and I, college, work, podcast, Yeah. Do you think that is something that a lot of people have to deal with, and what can they do to become better in their kind of free time?
Okay. Well, I will say that you and Caleb have both just gone through your first year of college and you haven't got into your major yet. So once you get into your major, you're definitely going to be spending more time on schoolwork. So usually your first year or two is going to be general education courses, stuff you've already done, English, math, science, general classes. When you get into your major, a lot of times that turns into almost a full-time job trying to keep up with that. So yes, right now in your first couple years, you're going to have some free time. But in your back half, as you go into your internship and things like that, you're going to be spending a lot more time on schoolwork. So I would say, if you are going towards a 4-year degree, and you're commuting, so you have a little bit more time that way. The first couple years are when you might have that time to be able to save some money and get prepared, because you probably will have to go a little less on your extracurriculars once you get into your major. So that would be, I don't want you to get false hopes thinking the entire program is going to be easy.
No, of course not. I'm not so much saying easy. I'm just saying if I am at school for 4 hours and I have 3 hours of homework, that's 7 hours out of 24 hours.
Yeah. Well, you have to sleep.
Yeah, but that's only 8.5. So.
Yeah. You sure? 8.5?
Yeah.
Sure it's not more than that?
I go to bed at midnight, man. I don't want to hear it from you.
Yeah, I mean, you do, and you guys are young. I'm older. I need more sleep, so I don't stay up till midnight, obviously working. But again, it depends on the instructor. It depends on the class. It depends on the content. If you already have a base knowledge of the content, it's a lot easier to get through. But like I say, it'll start getting a little bit more challenging. And so that being said, if you know and you prepare for that, then save up some money. Maybe I'm going to cut back on some of my work hours to have more time for school. And then that way you'll be able to get through it a little bit easier. It will remain doable the entire time instead of becoming overly challenging for you.
Boom. Open up more time for school is what you said, basically.
Just be prepared.
Be prepared.
Be prepared.
Yes. You never know what's going to happen.
Yes.
All right. We'll close it off on this. School starts in 2 weeks for you.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? What is your biggest piece of advice for this upcoming school year? What can students of all class, of all kind of fields of study, what can they do to make this school year easier for them?
Get a calendar. It can either be, I love my actual agenda. I like to write in it. Some people hate that. If not, then have an Outlook calendar or something digitally. On your first day of school, get all your syllabi, put all of your due dates in. Go ahead and put your due dates in your calendar a couple days before they're due so that you make sure that you don't miss anything. Go ahead and allocate that time for when your school time is going to be. Make sure that you go ahead and discuss with your current workplace what your school schedule is going to look like so that you're not overbooked or overscheduled at work, or they conflict with your times, because we hate for students not to show up to class because they had to work. We hate for students to have to work, and we get that too. But school has to be a priority until you get through it, because it's helping you to get a better job in the future. So just make sure that you're taking that into consideration. Make sure you eat and drink a lot of water.
Yes.
Water. You have to make sure that your body is healthy. I know a lot of times that freshman 15, that's a real thing. And walk and try to make sure you have space to clear your head, because stress is a big thing too. So stretching and yoga and all that stuff really helps. Even if you don't want anybody to know that you're doing it, go hide and do some yoga.
Nice dark closet.
Yes. Don't sit for extended periods of time at your computer. Stand up, stretch. They say sitting is the new smoking, so it's just as bad for your health as anything else. So really, that's true. You can Google that.
Listen, they say a lot of crazy things.
I know, but it is. It's bad on your vascular system. It's bad on your back. It's bad on your neck.
Much less disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. So take some time for yourself. Don't overcommit. It's okay to say no. I'm in school. I got stuff I got to do. And just keep plugging forward and be proud of your accomplishments. Don't let your failures, creep in and make you feel like you won't be successful ever. And just know that if you need help, you need to ask. Ask your instructor. They're there to help you, but they don't know you're struggling unless you tell them.
Boom. I got some stupid ones that we can have fun with now.
Okay.
We're going to settle some age-old debates here.
Oh, God.
Pens or pencils, and why?
Pens.
I agree.
I love a good pen. It has to be a good pen, though.
I don't make mistakes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You write with a electronic pen on an iPad, that can be erased very easily.
But if it's real life, definitely pens.
Yeah, I don't like pencils.
Colored pens?
Nah. Sometimes.
I go colored pens.
Like if
always.
I'm taking notes, it's going to be black or blue. But if I'm writing in my agenda, it's colored.
My psychology notebook is all colors.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. I did really well in that class too, so obviously it worked out.
Yeah, rainbow. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. Analog or digital for like a whole class? Does that make sense?
Define analog.
Like pen and paper. So like
my expectations of my students.
No, you would give out handouts and they would fill those out, or you would give it to them on Canvas to fill out.
See, I don't know. I'm a little half and half. So sometimes I give handouts during class if I'm teaching face to face. Sometimes I upload things for them to print out if they want to. So that's really kind of the way I do it, because students have different preferences too. I'll have students in my class that might be in their 30s, and I have students that are in 19. So I try to provide options so that they can pick what's better for them. But I love worksheets.
She does love worksheets.
Yeah.
3 days a week, 1 hour class, or 2 days a week, hour and a half class?
I'd rather have 1 day a week, 3 hour class.
I don't want to see these heifers.
I did not say that.
No, I did.
That is ugly. No, just because, people have to commit time, and it's much better to commit one big block of time once a week.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know, because if you only meet once a week, then a lot of times that stuff's not retained. So
for me, I would not retain any of that. After
There it
hour
is.
and a half, I would.
No, you mean
tuning
3
out.
hours is too long?
Yeah,
You want
definitely.
1 hour a week?
No, I would want out to 2 hour and a halves.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I would not want 3. Yeah.
Morning or afternoon classes? Teacher, and then answer as a student.
Okay, as a teacher, I hate morning classes because I don't like waking up early, because I have to be there much earlier than students to make sure the room's prepped. But regardless to that, students that I have in afternoon classes, particularly after lunch, they're dying. They are so tired, and I could dance and sing the whole time and it would not entertain them.
She's really good at that, by the way.
No. So that being said, afternoon classes I like better because of the time frame, but I don't like because it's very difficult to get students to engage after lunch. So
They're just sleeping.
yeah,
Interesting.
I would say my perfect time would be like 9 a.m.
I was going to say 10 a.m.
10's really good. I do a lot of meetings at 10. That gives you time to get in, get your coffee, get settled, get the room set up. Yeah.
Yeah. Get the heater rolling. That way it's nice and warm.
Yes.
Yes. Mom likes her space heater.
Cold.
Yes. All right, last one. And this is a new one. Zoom or in person, and why?
Ew. So as a instructor or a presenter, I get sort of like a energy rush by being in a room with people. So I feed off of people that I can see and interact with face to face. But that's the type of personality that I have. Zoom classes are super easy for students to be able to do because they don't have to drive. And the way gas is now and everything, I just almost feel guilty requiring students to come drive a far way to meet face to face. The issue with Zoom is that whenever you have students and you're doing like it's called synchronous, when you're all doing it at the same time session, you can see their little boxes, you see their little faces. They are all dying. They are all, sometimes it's like, are you frozen? Are you asleep? Like, did you just put up like a little
Cardboard
cutout of yourself? I'm not really sure.
Why are you looking at your ceiling?
Exactly. And then a lot of times our students are at home with family members and dogs and cats and all kinds of stuff. There's just so many distractions. And so you don't get that level of engagement on Zoom. So there's goods and bads to both. I usually like to try to accommodate my students. If it works out better for them to be on Zoom, we try to do Zoom. If it works out better for them if they want to meet on campus, we meet on campus. But I'm lucky because I have small classes and I can do that. Obviously, you can't. If you have a huge class, you just kind of have to do whatever. What do you prefer?
I really liked how my history class was, where it was pre-recorded.
And you did it on your own time? Yeah.
Because I could watch it at 2 times speed and take notes, and I could watch an hour and a half lecture in 45 minutes.
Okay.
So that's why.
I do all of my online classes I teach are asynchronous, so students do it on their own time, and they're recorded lectures, and I like that. And I try to keep them short so that they don't get really long and boring because people tune out.
Yeah.
Like you get about 15 minutes with them and then they're gone. So
Well, and the thing is too, like especially with my major, it's like it's not really lectures. Like you can't lecture me about how to use Final Cut Pro because I have to touch it. You can't. I mean, like you can tell me all you want, but like I'm not keeping any of that. Like give me a computer, and let me play.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously have been in classes with lectures because like my science class was all lectures. I think if the subject matter is not interesting, then you're out of luck anyways.
That's
you
true.
You just got to figure it out. You got to put some pictures in there, or
It's
maybe.
so hard to make things fun.
I don't know though. So like even my math teacher, like he made it fun because you could tell he really loved math, and so like anybody who really loves whatever they're talking about, like I'll just listen to them talk anyway. Doesn't matter what they're talking. They could be talking about sandwiches.
He listens to me talk a lot.
Yes, and you like what you're talking about, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you know what you're talking about or not.
It's because I'm talking about him. That's why.
Yes. Take out the trash. Oh, why? Okay. Well, I think that's it.
Okay.
Thanks, Mom,
You're welcome.
for coming on the podcast.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
This is either the first part or second part of this podcast where Caleb's dad will be talking about similar subject matters. But we are not sharing questions because I did not have a questions list for this.
Oh.
So, Caleb, you are out of luck, bud. But thanks for watching, listening, viewing, subscribing, all that other stuff to the podcast. This is probably the third part of our back to school series that you're seeing, which is pretty cool. So hopefully you're liking it, and hopefully episode 18 was good because we haven't even recorded it or figured out what it's going to be yet as you're listening to this.
Well, if anybody is interested in a career in health sciences,
yeah, go ahead. Give them your plug.
please feel free to reach out to me. I would be glad to answer any questions you might have.
We'll put some kind of contact information in the description for Mom. So, and then I don't know what exactly Caleb's that's going to talk about, but he has background in law enforcement and stuff like that. So, be sure to listen to that too. This is going to be a long show, but it's all good. So, thanks, Mom, for coming on. I think you did good.
Thanks.
Hopefully, we sounded smart. I think we did.
I wore my glasses. So.
Yeah, I wore my headphones. I never wear headphones, guys. But I did this time because Caleb's not here. So, but yeah, thanks for listening, watching, all that other stuff. Click all the links. You know the rules. Shout out to this guy. High five. Peace.